Okay. So where to next?
Number 10, submission number 10, Matatini.
You wish to deal with Matatini now, or we might as well? Councillor Graham, you wish to lead us into this discussion? Or question? Yeah, sure.
Is it possible to consider the rest of that treaty redress? This is about celebrating a particular culture. Can we, and being able to highlight it, to be able to be good hosts, whatever, can we use that money that's committed to that if there's no other budget call on it?
Councillor, providing you're willing to tell Mr Mohi, I'm happy for that to happen. To tell him that his funding's gone. Yeah. There's no other, as I said earlier, there's no other actual allocation to that money every year. It's just available and it has been used every year. But if it was to be tagged for a particular purpose, as indeed the earlier your earlier decision also tags, then at least we would know at the start of the financial year that that's what it's for, that there's no other money available from that fund and just have to work accordingly.
How big is the fund?
The total is 65,000 and you've already approved 5 for Waitangi Day celebrations.
Could I ask you? List of, in the paper, the list of funds that are there, the relationships and projects, is that absolutely specific to the research sector? It's very hard to see that Matatini is research, but...
Sorry, your question, sorry, I just...
is that third bullet point quite specific that it is for the research sector?
Generally, it's been allocated, yes, to Massey, actually to Waikato University as well. Mainly to tertiary institutes. So we'll be able to coordinate research projects and things and use that funds.
Councillor Dick, and then Councillor Graham.
Well, it's not something I'd advocate, but this is a one-off. So could we contemplate chopping our contingency fund in half and providing 50,000 out of that?
He was down to 50 already.
No.
We had cut it already.
No, we put it back up.
We put it back up. Pardon?
Yeah, we topped it back up. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's 100,000.
Right.
So that'll give you 110 with no rates impact.
Okay. I actually had Councillor Graham, and then
Thank you, Chair. I'm very impressed with the positive approach to try and make this work around the table. I just want to make obviously I'm quite close to this. Kahungunu, this is really important to Kahungunu as an iwi. And, you know, Kahununu's not actually at the moment a united iwi, as everybody knows. But this will unite them. You be absolutely certain of that. This will bring them together. And, you know, it's huge for our region, but it's even bigger for them. And with the important people that are coming from all around New Zealand, and Kaumātua is from everywhere, and I suggest that they will get 35,000 people. And I think that there's another fact. I know it's really hard. It's really hard because it's operating funds. There's no capex here. They've actually allocated us the hard end of this. If you look at it, it's entertaining and the bits and pieces that they have a lot of difficulty getting from other folks. But it is an opportunity for us going forward to really establish a partnership with our own tāngata whenua, which is Kahungunu essentially, although we're finding little different hapus around the place that don't seem to be linked. And I think that we need to grasp it in a real positive way, and we need to be seen to representing our region, to be seen to partnering them in this endeavour. It's once in every 30 years. It's going to absolutely highlight our region, and more pertinently, it's going to highlight Kahungunu as an iwi. So I do support this. I know it's really hard. I don't know how we do it. And I'm really impressed with the two suggestions which have come to light so far, but I would like us to think and throw everything at this, because I think it will be seen as a very important partnership going forward.
One further
Councillor
suggestion.
Dick, yeah.
Where are we looking at in terms of a financial year-end outcome this financial year?
We are on original annual plan target, which was a deficit of 480, which has obviously got carry forwards from previous years that come forward, and now you've agreed to carry forward some of that to next year, so that pretty much that 480 goes through to next year. So we're pretty much on an even budget.
So on budget, so there's no surplus to tap in?
Not that we're aware of yet.
No.
There's always potential, but
Okay, Councillor Hewitt. Sorry,
We're
Andy.
still on questions, aren't we?
Yes, yes.
None of the statements will come in debate, I'm sure. What sort of precedent do we have for hosting important guests, funding for personnel? This request is quite specific as to where the money is going, and how can we justify that for our ratepayers?
Question for the Chief Executive. While she's thinking of an answer,
could I answer
Councillor
that?
Bevan had a question.
Yeah, if there's to be a rates increase from what we've gone out and consulted with, this is the one thing that I think, because it's a one-off and because it's so important, it's the one thing that I could support. But it's also going to be the biggest number of tourists to come to this region in God knows how many years, maybe forever. So we've got in our budget 1.15 mil for tourism and another $300,000. Why can we not take some of that money and use it for this purpose? Because it's supporting 30,000 tourists coming here.
That's a bit easier to answer that one.
That's a bit easier. We haven't consulted on that, and I think it would be only fair to.
I may be able to go too if he doesn't.
It definitely is as a precedent, because it's what I said before. It's a precedent that you can make, and then you.
No, I'm looking for a precedent that's already been set.
Oh, there's no.
World Cup.
Oh, Rugby World Cup, yeah. Well, that was a. Thanks, Al.
What are we putting to that? 200,000.
It's justification to our ratepayers. This is the community partnering with the iwi. That's the way I see it. And we represent the community. And I agree with Councillor Bell. If I have to argue this in Havelock North, I will argue this in Havelock North.
I have another one for the Chief Executive. I mean, do you seriously believe that handing over a bit of money is going to assist us in becoming strategic partners with Ngāti Kahungunu? Because to date, they don't show for meetings. We have lots of trouble when we try and set them, and they're cancelled and put off, and the next submission was against something we're trying to do. It's not really a strategic partnership. It's one way, isn't it? So do you think this is going to really make a difference?
Yeah, look, I really can't answer that, Councillor. I mean, I'm not going to.
Well,
I'll answer it. Can I just say to you that if we
You had a question. Answer it in your question, Councillor, because we're going
No,
to be here all day.
Councillor Graham answered a question.
Right.
The other question to be posed, I was going to answer that question on behalf of the Chief Executive for it. That was what I was going to do for it. If the Chief Executive was happy for that. As an answer to Councillor Hewitt, if we do not do this, I can assure you our relationship won't actually improve. Not that people will be there, but the second thing I'd say to you is that we have an excellent relationship with Kahungunu. We have Mike Mohi, who works hard for us all over the place. We have the regional planning community. We have an excellent relationship with Kahungunu, and it's getting better all the time. And I think this investment will improve it immensely. The other thing I'd say to you about this is not about Kahungunu. This is about Hawke's Bay. And New Zealand is going to turn up here to see Hawke's Bay. That's what this is. This is a Hawke's Bay event, in my view.
Mr. Chairman, I'm prepared to move if you want it, so that the speakers that have spoken to a motion that doesn't yet exist can have it taken into account. And I move that the sum of 110,000 being made up from the 60,000 from the what is the
Project 874.
Yeah,
Project
Project
874
Contingency.
and 50,000 from the contingency, which is project whatever.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, okay.
Contingency is contingency.
Be approved. Well, sorry, I recommend payment to Ngāti Kahungunu Iwi Incorporated of that sum made up from those projects for assisting with Te Matatini.
How much did that come to?
110.
110,000.
So we're 190 short.
I amend that sum be supplemented by $90,000 from,
It can't be
Hang on, no,
amended
no,
until
no,
there's a
it's a
seconder.
solution,
Alright.
it hasn't been seconded. Well, I'm happy to second it, so you have, and let us both speak and then you put your
go
amendment.
on there.
Mr Chairman, I think it is worthwhile, and I do think that it is a fair use of that sum that we did set aside for redress, because this is a chance for these people to highlight not only their culture but their hospitality, and that's a very important part of their Māori. If they don't make a good job of it, their standing goes down, and that is all what the whole treaty redress is about, is establishing their standing in their Māori. And I think that without looking at a rates increase, that we can cope with doing this and give a reasonable. We're also, over and above that, we're all giving money for enhancing the waterways, again considering that that was a very important part of being able to host people, was to be able to highlight their kaitiaki. And I think there will be a lot more calls on our in-kind. There's going to need to be a lot of upgrade of wastewater and things like that, and I'm sure that the council is going to have many more requests for assistance under that. So I think this is an appropriate amount to be giving towards that hospitality in looking at cultural redress.
So in seconding this, thank you, Councillor Scott. Look, we get pretty close to hosting the Manahiri, which is a very important part of this recommendation and this request. The other point I'd make is this is just our annual plan round, right? This is the discussion we're having to set the rate and get on with our budget for next year. There are other things that haven't completed yet. The financial year hasn't completed yet, as Councillor Dick has quite rightly pointed out. We haven't seen whether or not the works group, for example, have made a surplus this year, which they generally do, which generally goes back. But maybe as we get closer to Matatini, there may be other opportunities to assist in a more direct way. So I think this is a great starter for 10. It may be where we end up. We may be able to help further, but it shows a good intention that this community is in fact willing to stand alongside Kahungunu and hosting one of the biggest Māori events that the country sees every 2 years. So I'm happy to support this as a seconder. So Councillor Dick.
Well, my amendment is that the funding allocation be supplemented by $90,000 from the council's operating balance.
Would that be a change to the rates?
No,
So the original
110 plus
plus 90.
makes
Okay,
200.
so you've added 90. So as an amendment, can you you're welcome to speak to that?
Yeah, well,
It's been seconded.
Still has to retain a certain operating balance, but in most years there's been capacity to actually whittle that down a little bit. And if it's, I know it's a little early, but we're sort of on budget. There's certainly no indication of a deficit blowout or whatever. So I think it's appropriate to make an allocation like that. maybe if people are a little concerned about it, we could make that conditional upon the annual accounts outcome. I'll add that.
Seconder.
Are you happy with the add-on?
Yeah, he seconded it, so.
Mr Chairman, I will speak against this amendment for the simple reason of the carry forwards are actually going to increase next year's deficit. And if we haven't got a carry over for that, then with next year we're just actually going to be in bigger. We've got to learn to actually come back to a balanced budget. We can't spend the gains that are made on carryovers.
Well, hang on, you get a right of reply. You get a right of reply. Any other speakers?
To the substantive motion?
If it becomes a substantive motion.
Okay.
Well,
Yes, I'll support this amendment. I actually think that if we only contributed $110,000 to Ngāti Kahungunu, we would look niggardly, and we need to spend more, and I can live with 200,000.
Councillor Barker.
I haven't seen a budget yet of this size that you can't find wriggle room for another 90k somewhere in it. So I support Councillor Dick. I'm sure that we can reprioritise some spending to other things to get ourselves to a figure of 200. And I'm with Peter on this. 110, people say, what? The regional council balance sheet, 110, others do. It just doesn't seem right. It's got to have a look about it. I would have thought 200 would have been absolute, bottom of the line for me.
You wish to sum up, Councillor Dick?
I'll speak first.
You wish to speak? Sorry, Councillor Graham.
I would like to support it without the addition of. I'd like to take a risk on that, but I guess if everyone else is, the addition is that we do have a balanced budget. It doesn't give them any certainty, and I would like to be able to give them some certainty. Something I didn't say that is really important here is that Ngāti Kahununu's mana is on the line on this thing. This is about mana, and it's about our mana as well in their eyes and other people's eyes. And I think that, Peter's right about the 100,000. Even the 200,000 I'm not that happy with, but I do understand fiscal restraint as well, so I take on board. But I would like to take a risk on that extra 90,000, because I think 200,000 we're probably okay.
Councillor Dick.
I echo the sentiments of the speakers. I think we've got to support this and support it materially for Kahungunu, and I say that despite the fact that quite a number of the chairman's public pronouncements don't particularly endear him to me, and probably vice versa. But as I say, let's do it. Carry forwards are fiscally neutral, so there's no problem there.
Just clarify what chairman you were talking about there. I think I get it, Councillor Dick. So I'll put the amendment. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, no. I'll say no as well.